this CAS reflection is about, over the past weekend, I made a tiramisu cake, which I did in my weekend, just because I felt like I needed to have a bit of stress relief, and that's what I use my baking for a lot of the time. But the way I was creative with this one was that I've always been trying to find ways to make bigger baking projects a little bit less labour intensive or time intensive or emotionally or physically intensive, because that's, I like to bake and I like to make these really cool big projects and I like to work on skills, but I can find it really, really exhausting I can find it really, I have people walking by, my brain is very scattered, but I can find it really, really exhausting. Seriously, why is that so loud? Sorry, moving on. But I can find it really, really exhausting if it's a really big project. Like, for instance, making icing can be really exhausting because it makes a huge mess. It takes ages. It's the worst. And then, again, brain scattered. It's 4:45. I'm still at school. Bibbs is here. And I can't think straight. This is my third CAS reflection of the day. So, living, laughing, loving here. And what I've always been struggling with is trying to make them less, bigger projects, like making a whole cake covered in icing, a little less tough on me to do in a day. Because at the moment, because I don't have many long weekends and I'm doing a lot of schoolwork on Friday night. Last Friday night I went up until about 9 p.m. I've been really working on trying to cut down, trying to make sure I can have cool baking projects that don't feel like, oh, I just made a tray of brownies. And projects that can be a bit more okay, I spent time, I made this really cool thing. I mean, I've made it before, but it's awesome. So what I did with tiramisu cake is it requires you to make the longer fingers, so the lady fingers. That's not a literal translation, they're called different things. Which requires whipping egg whites and almond flour. And while they are absolutely delicious, I could not be bothered. I was really tired and I didn't have enough time to make biscuits, wait for them to cool, make a cake, wait for that to cool, cover in a syrup, ice, eat. So what I decided to do was I decided to cut down on the ladyfingers part, and I decided to go, okay, so if I don't have the energy in me to make ladyfingers, what can I do? And I realised I could just buy them. They weren't as good, and I prefer the homemade ones on that cake, but they made the cake look beautiful, and I'd spent effort and time to do it, so they were good, and I was extremely happy about that in the end. So I think that's how I'm being creative, is just trying to make it easier for myself, make there more ways that I can do this, because this cake had several different elements, but the good thing about the different elements were they weren't very intensive, and I've made this recipe before, so that helped. Was, for instance, it had a Genovese cake, a syrup, and syrups take 5 minutes to make, so I did that. Then it also has a rum coffee syrup, a mascarpone cream, and a regular cream for piping on the top. Now, the great thing about this one was that they told me to crumb coat it and wait, but I was like, actually, no, I don't need to do that, and it would be better if I don't, because the ladyfingers need to go straight into the cream and stick. So then once I added the ladyfingers, I thought, okay, I can just do the top now. So I did the top, and what I really experimented with was trying to layer the swirls, because swirls, of course, they leave spaces in the middle, and then you don't have enough space for another swirl. So what I did was I piped a little bit, so I'd fill in a little bit of space, and I'd pipe one or two on top flowers to kind of build into the flower theme, and it looks really good. Now the problem with cream was that this one, I think I had the problem where I had too much air in the bag, because I've actually been teaching myself how to fill up piping bags without using that, the trick of the glass. So then I used that, which was really, really helpful, because I was able to just get it in, but then the problem was that it had too much air in it, and too much air in the bag means that when you try and pipe it, it means that the cream will kind of come out in different places, and occasionally it will just kind of blow a load of air out and nothing else. So after I'd made sure that bit was all done, after I'd made sure all of those bits were done, I was done. After I'd completed all of those random little bits, to reflect on it, I think I did a really good job. I think not making the ladyfingers was a good call, because I haven't made a cake in about 6 months now. Maybe probably about since the summer, honestly. I haven't had the time. And this allowed me to really do one of my hobbies and do it well and do like a thing that I've really been working on a lot, because if you go onto my Instagram page, you can see my cakes from a year ago and my cakes now, and the ones now are a lot better because I've been able to teach myself these tricks and tips. So it's a very long reflection because I'm very tired. So thank you. This is reflection number 58. So thanks.